Hi guys, we're really excited that you could join us today on this session. This is our first virtual marriage seminar, and we'll be dealing with his and her needs because needs are so key to a healthy marriage. This session is meant for us to discover those needs and then to empower you on how to meet those needs. So we're looking forward to a great time and you will be blessed. All right, let's get going. Again, welcome to everyone. I want to welcome you to this session where we are talking about husband and wife, his and her needs. We really want to appreciate each one of you who came today, and we are really excited that you could come to spend this morning with us. You could have chosen to spend your morning somewhere else, but my wife, are we not grateful? Are we not excited?
We are really excited to be having you this morning, and we also are going to be learning in the process.
Yes.
So I think it's great. It's not only for you hearing, but
Yes.
it's us also learning and
Exactly.
taking something from this seminar this morning.
Exactly that. Awesome. So, just a few ground rules. We're going to have 4 sessions this morning. And I'm hoping that these 4 sessions will be impactful. They will change your marriage. They will take you to your next level. If you can keep your mic muted during the teaching. So after every session, we'll go out for discussions where you'll be given discussion questions, and then we'll have a debriefing where you can just give feedback around what you would have spoken about. Otherwise, we are excited and we're looking forward to a great time. So let's get started. Just a brief introduction. Myself and my wife, we've been married for 14 years. It has been 14 years, and this year we're going 15 years. And the Lord blessed us with 2 beautiful kids, Bernice, who is 11, turning 12 this year, and Andrew, who is 7 and turning 8. So we're really excited, and God has really been faithful. These 14 years has been awesome. Through the dark times, through the great times, we're here, and we're really excited that God has sustained our marriage. So today, why are we here? We are talking about his and her needs. It is crucial that we get to understand this whole concept of needs that we find in our marriages. Now, I'm hoping that in this session this morning, we will help you to discover some needs and then to empower you how to meet those needs. It is so important because a lot of us struggle because we don't know. We don't know better. You don't know what makes your husband tick. You don't know what makes your wife tick. And because you are ignorant, you're not positioned to actually do something about the situation. I want to start off with Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, around this whole aspect of needs. The Bible says, "And Jehovah God said, it is not good that the man should be alone." Oh man, it's not good for a man to be alone,
It's true.
right? It is, God knew it, and he says, "I will make a helper suitable for him." I will make a helper suitable for him. You need to understand that whenever you're looking for a helper, you don't look for someone who is weaker than you.
Yeah.
You either look for somebody who equals your strength or who is better than you.
Right.
So when God brought you and your wife or your husband together, he saw what you needed and he looked for somebody who is well positioned to meet that need. And I want you to realize that no matter what has been happening in your marriage, you have what it takes to meet your spouse's need.
Yeah.
You have what it takes. You've got the grace that you need to meet your spouse's need. Now, you'd realize that problems in marriages really stem to expectations not being met,
Yeah.
or expectations not being communicated.
Yeah.
Now, if an expectation is not known, you shouldn't expect it to be met. When expectations are clarified, there are higher chances that those expectations would be met.
Yeah.
The same thing about needs, right? Now, one of the things we've realized that in the past season of lockdown, it has really heightened this issue of needs. Because when we were all going to work and not closed in our house, we had an opportunity to get away from the house,
Yeah.
spend a couple of hours away. But with the lockdown, what happened?
we don't have a choice. We need to be together all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because you're together all the time, those needs rise up to the surface.
Yeah.
And then you've got an expectation for the need to be met, and the guy doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the girl doesn't show up. You get disappointed. And I'm hoping that today we'll be able to deal with some of those needs. So, am I the one who should go first? No. I want to give my wife the first opportunity. I want to put her on the spot.
Yeah.
She's going to take us through the first need that she has observed or she has started even in her own life.
Yeah.
You know, so my wife, take us through around the first need you think is right at the top for a wife in a marriage.
Okay. Welcome everyone once again, those who have just joined us. Yeah, I think today we're going to learn a lot, and I'm also going to learn a lot. And before we go further, I just want to anchor this teaching in scripture. So I want to read from the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 from verse 7 from the New Living Translation. And here Peter was addressing husbands. And he said in the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7, in the same way, you husbands must give honor to your wives.
Come on now.
Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered. So this morning, I just want to focus on a few phrases or key words that Peter used in this passage.
Yeah.
So here Peter says, you husbands must give honor to your wives. So if we look at the phrase give honor, it means you are placing value on something. So as a husband, Peter is urging husbands to place value on their wives. You need to see your wife as being important and that she means a lot to you. So that is my urge to you this morning, husbands, to say, first of all, you need to see your wife as being important and that she means a lot to you.
Right.
My husband earlier on said that a husband was given a wife as a helper. And he emphasized that a helper must be at your level, at least she needs to be better than you. Which means that if your wife is better than you, she's someone who's valuable. She's adding value to your own life because she's there to help you. If we look in the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, from verse 10, it also says that who can find a virtuous woman? For a prize is far more than rubies. And this is what we need to understand as men, as husbands this morning. Because I'm going to be addressing the needs of women, but addressing husbands this morning. We need to understand that our wives are so important. And then Peter goes on and says, treat your wife with understanding as you live together. If we are to look up the meaning of understanding in the Webster Dictionary, it says, it means that if you understand something, it is you have a full mental grasp of something. So when Peter was saying you need to treat your wife with understanding, he was saying have a full mental grasp. Know your wife. Know what she's really made up of. And when you really know what your wife is really made out of, you are able to meet her needs. Because you know what she likes and you know what she dislikes. And then Peter goes on to say, she may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. So here, the weaker that was being referred to, when this passage was written in Peter's time, the weaker was usually referring to widows and orphans. Because during that time, widows and orphans were disadvantaged. They were looked down upon. and especially corrupt political officials used to take advantage of them and to oppress them. So the widows were considered to be weaker. They were considered to be disadvantaged. And I think even in the world we are living in today,
Yep.
a lot of women are still disadvantaged. And a lot of women are still looked down upon. But here Peter was urging the husbands to say, she may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life, which means she is important. She is someone who's valuable. And then also weaker, we see that it can also mean that physically a woman is weaker than a man. Okay, most women are weaker or physically weaker than their husbands. I don't think I'm as strong as my husband. So yeah, Peter was emphasizing that she may be weaker than you, but treat her with respect.
Right.
So in this regard, I just want to encourage husbands this morning to say, be considerate towards your wife. Honor and respect your wife. And I do think one way that husbands can honor and respect their wife is to be able to meet their needs. Do you pay attention to what your wife says? Do you pay attention to when your wife says, I want flowers or I want this?
What are flowers?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what flowers are.
Right.
Okay. So before I go on any further, I just want to emphasize that it's important that you are realistic about being in a marriage setup. You need to be realistic in the sense that you need to know that marriage is a practical thing. You need to show love to your spouse. You need to show that you are there in the marriage. And you need to show that you are prepared to meet the needs of your spouse.
Right.
I think if we are to discuss even later when we are talking, most of us would agree that we want to continue being romantically in love with our spouses, with your husband or your wife. So what do I mean by being romantically in love with your spouse? It means you are still romancing your spouse, you've still got those feelings of romance, or you are sexually attracted to your spouse.
Okay.
You see, your spouse is not your brother or your sister.
Come on now.
You see? So you need to be sexually attracted to your spouse. I think that's why most of us got married, or all of us here on this platform got married. I didn't see my husband as my brother, you see. I saw him as something else.
Okay.
You see?
You need to
So
get into
as
that.
my lover, so we need to keep on the fire burning in our marriages, you see. And so we need to put effort in doing that. So the first need that I want to address today, that's her need, a need that most women have, is called affection. And I think if we are to unmute and to ask a number of ladies here, they would agree with me that definitely affection is high on their list. But maybe you are a husband and saying, what do you really mean when you're talking about affection?
Actually, you know what?
Yes.
As you're listening, if you as a wife, if affection is one of your highest needs, just make a comment
Yes.
in the comment box and say, I agree, affection is one of my highest needs, you know, or just put a heart in there, then we'll know. Awesome.
Yes. So, what do I mean that you need to be affectionate towards your wife?
Yeah.
And affection means you are tender towards your wife. You are warm towards your wife. You show care to your wife. And this is an expression of love to your wife when you show affection to your own wife. So in the context of marriage, a wife wants to know that my husband cares for me. My husband puts me first. But I think affection doesn't come naturally for most men. Because I think the way a lot of us are raised, especially in the African context, is not to be emotional. A lot of men are not taught how to express their emotions. Because I think when you are showing affection, you have to show emotions as well. And a lot of men in our context, especially in Africa, I don't think we are taught. We are taught to be a man, be strong, don't show that anything is wrong. Let's say even someone dies, we are told to be strong
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. That is how we were mostly raised up. But I'm not saying that this need is only for women.
Come on
Get
now.
me right. Because some men also want affection. But we are saying, in general, most men, most women
Yeah.
want their husbands to show them affection.
Come on now.
So if it applies to you the other way around in your relationship, take note of this. Don't just say, you know what, I'm a woman, I need affection. It might not be a high need for you, but you know that your husband is a high need for him. And so you take in what applies to you in your marriage setup. But we are just saying, in general, most women would want their husbands to show them affection.
So in actual fact, you find that there are some men who are high in affection. They want affection. They want
Yes.
to be expressed towards them.
Yeah.
But because of our culture, the way we've been raised, when you say those kind of things, it's as if you are a weak man.
Yeah.
And therefore, a lot of men who've got that type of love language are not able to clearly articulate that need because it is perceived as being weak.
Yes.
If you want affection from your wife, so to speak. So that would be a comment to bring in there.
Yeah. So I think a number of women, even on this platform, would agree with me. I think we can do the same thing. You can say, if you love hugs. A lot of women love hugs. They love to be cuddled. If you are one of them, I think you can also say, I love hugs, or show us a sign of someone hugging. But definitely, I do think that women are high on this need. Most women really value affection. And I want to emphasize this morning that affection has nothing to do with having sex.
No?
Yes. And I think that's where
Nah.
there
Now you're missing
that
me.
is where
You're losing
like
me.
there is confusion
Okay.
between husband and wives, and that's where there are misunderstandings. Because for men, I think for them, naturally, sex is a way of showing affection to their wives. But for most women,
Okay.
the sex act is not the beginning of affection.
Uh-huh.
Affection starts somewhere. And I want to read this quote that I read from this book called His or Her Needs in Marriage That Lasts. And the author said there's a first law of marriage, and he says when it comes to sex and affection, you can't have one without the other.
Okay.
So it means you have to start with affection in order to get to having sex with your wife,
To have the rest of it.
to have everything that you want. So it therefore means that as a man, you cannot demand from your sex when you don't show affection to your wife.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So you have to start by showing your affection, and then you get what you want.
Okay. So are we saying here that if I am not good at showing affection,
Yeah.
I am therefore disqualified from the other stuff? How
No.
do we get that balance right? Because yeah, please help us.
Yes. I think what we need to realize is that every marriage is a work in progress.
Okay.
So what we are saying here is ultimately that is what we want. But sometimes you might find that a certain area in your life or in your marriage is a struggle for you, and you need to develop into that.
Okay.
And the scriptures are clear that you need to meet each other's needs in 1 Corinthians chapter 7.
Okay.
So you cannot say, because my husband doesn't do this for me, I won't do the same for him.
Okay,
You
I'm
see.
with
So
you.
it's not
Amen.
tit for tat in marriage. But we are saying we are a work in progress. We want to get here so that we stay connected, so that we stay romantically involved, romantically in love, sexually attracted to one another.
Thank you. Amen.
Yes.
Okay.
So someone this morning might be asking and saying, okay, I hear what you say about affection, but practically, what are the things that I need to do to show my wife that I'm affectionate towards her. So I will give you examples. It might apply to your wife, but it might not apply to your wife. And I want you, when you leave this seminar, to go and have a discussion, because the way you show affection will differ from the next couple. Because your wife might tell you, this doesn't apply to me.
Come on
So
now.
you need to have a discussion and say, wifey, like my husband says, how can I meet this need? What do you want me to do so that I can meet this need? So I think one way that husbands can meet this need is you need to hug your wife each day before getting out of bed, or cuddle at night just before going to bed. So I think a lot of women would appreciate it if you just hug her, like for no reason, like hug her in bed. When you wake up in the morning, on a Saturday morning, stay in bed and hug her, cuddle, or just before you go to bed, do the same thing. Yes. So that might be your wife, or your wife might want you to tell her every day or from time to time that I love you. Because I think what happens in marriages is that when we get married, we settle. And I think most men then think, you know what, she knows that I love her, so she doesn't need to hear that. But I think a lot of women want that reassurance from their husbands
I'm with
that they are the one,
Yes.
that I am valuable, that I'm still important in your life. So tell her that. If your wife wants you to express it in words, tell her how much you love her. And then another way that you can show your wife, maybe, an example is WhatsApp or text your wife when you are at work, telling her like sweet nothings, or you know,
Sweet
those
nothings.
lyrics, whatever, you know. You see, catch up with her, like what you're doing during the day, like just chat to her. It warms her heart. Send her a bouquet of flowers at a workplace or at home. And it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day, guys, or on a birthday only that you send those flowers to work. You know, one time when I was still working full time, my husband just surprised me. He sent her this big bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
And there
how's
was
the man?
no occasion, you know. It really warmed my heart. And you know, everyone was like, "Ooh, wow, your husband is so romantic." It did something to me that, you know what, my husband really cares for me. He was so thoughtful enough to send this bouquet of flowers to work to show the whole world that he loves me.
And I ripped, guys, the few coming days. And it was
Oh,
awesome.
so you still remember?
Of
Okay.
course, don't forget those things.
Yeah. And another thing you can do, if maybe your wife likes this, you can write small love notes and put them in the bedroom in places where she only will find them, eh?
Yeah.
Telling her what you think about her and all that. Another way, you can take her away for a weekend away, surprise her, or a meal. Say, today you're not cooking dinner, just spring it up on her. You're not cooking dinner, I'm taking you out, and we have fun. I like what my husband does. We usually go out for breakfast during the week on a day when my kids are at school. And that's so nice because sometimes it's a spur of the moment decision. It just says, let's go out.
Yep.
We have found even these nice cheap places
Yeah.
where breakfast is cheap, but it's so nice. It's so nice. We just have time together.
Or go for runs. Or
Yes. If you are the romantic type, you know, which I would wish all men would become, plan something different, even in these COVID times at home. Maybe plan a romantic dinner at home, order something online if you don't like cooking, or if you like the kitchen, prepare a meal for your wife. Put those rose petals, in the bedroom. Put those rose petals on the bed and whatever. Make it nice, make it different. And I think a lot of women would really, really appreciate it if you do some of these things. But then I would want to say there are some things you need to avoid in terms of expressing affection to your wife.
Yeah, but maybe before you go there,
Yes.
just a question. I'm a guy who I'm there, all right?
Yes.
I'm available. I clean her car. I fuel her car. I make sure that I help with the dishes, and I'm showing her love and affection. Do I have to put words into it?
I think that's why I said earlier on, it's important to know what your wife likes.
Okay.
So it's not just to assume that when I do the dishes, she's going to be happy. It's going to make her feel that my husband is affectionate to me.
Okay.
You need to have that discussion. Yes, some women would appreciate it,
Okay.
but for others, they would say, no, you were just doing it. It was part of our arrangement as a married couple. I didn't feel that you were expressing affection to me. So for me, for example, I might prefer having flowers, but some of the things might not mean a lot to me, you see.
Okay.
So you need to know your wife.
So I need to love my wife the way she wants to be loved.
Yes.
So I must show her affection the way she wants it, not the way I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because it's about her.
It's about her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so I think there are some things that husbands need to avoid when they are showing affection, or they think they are showing affection.
Yeah.
So I think for some women, they don't appreciate it when you touch parts of their body, like their breasts or their bum, when expressing affection. As to women, affection is not necessarily sexual in nature.
Okay.
So you need to have a discussion with your wife. Some women might be fine with it, but
Okay,
some women would say, no, that is the no, 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 no. Because I think they feel that maybe it's leading to something.
Okay.
My husband wants something from me. So don't express affection in a way that makes your wife uncomfortable. So don't also maybe talk about a body in a way that is like in an inappropriate way, and I think that is affection as well.
Okay.
So you need to be mindful of this, but I think that's where you need to go home after the seminar and have these types of conversations to say what is comfortable to my wife, what is
Yes.
not. Because some women also, I know a lot of women are high on you holding their hands,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
to show affection like out there. But some women you might find they don't like public display of affection as well. So you need to have those conversations and find out what your wife wants. And also, the third thing is don't show affection in order to bribe or manipulate your spouse. So what I mean here is that sometimes what happens in marriages is that we are having issues. We are not dealing with issues. We are sweeping issues under the carpet, and then you don't even want to talk to your wife about it, but you manipulate the situation, and you know that your wife loves flowers. And you now start bringing the flowers more regularly, not because you want to show her affection, but you want to sweep that issue under the carpet
I see.
so that you don't deal with that issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we know we have the right motives when we are showing affection to our spouses. It's not in a manipulative way or to bribe her to do something, but it's genuine
and that's
love.
actually a common issue.
Yeah.
I remember one day I was buying flowers for you,
Yeah.
and the guy who was on the till said to me, "What wrong did you do? What sin did you commit?"
Yes.
In his mind, he's already thinking, "Oh, this guy is buying flowers because he has to make right."
Yeah.
He's using flowers as a way to deal with a matter. Yeah,
Yes.
you can do it, but you need to actually be upright, forthright, and talk about the issues.
Yes.
And then she will receive the flowers with a better heart and the right emotions, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, eh? That's right. So I think that's about what I had to share. Maybe my husband, do you have any questions or any comments around this area of affection?
I think it's an area of discomfort for guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't come naturally. And I think the encouragement here is to really work on it, is to actually realize that it's not about you, it's about her. It's going outside of your comfort zone in order to fill her up. And I heard somebody talking about the love bank.
Yes.
When the love bank is full, a lot of other things become easy. And I think affection is one way of filling up the love tank of your
Yes.
wife.
Yes.
And it's important to assess that from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got some questions for you. I don't know if you are now seeing them. I'll ask someone to put them up for me. The questions on self-reflection questions for couples on affection. So what we are going to do, we are going to give you about 5 minutes to discuss with your partner, if your partner is there with you this morning. But I think it's important that we have these conversations so that we know where we are at as a couple. So the first question that I would want you guys to discuss is this. Do you think there is a need to improve the way you show affection to your wife or husband? If so, how do you think it should improve? And the second question is, are you both willing to show each other affection? If either of you is not willing, how can you improve on that? And what could be the issue? And the last question is, list the things you can do to improve affection and a list of things you need to avoid. So we are going to give you 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, I'm going to ask maybe 1 or 2 people
Yes.
to unmute themselves and make comments. You can raise your hand, and then we can see you, and then you can answer for us what you have discussed.
Yeah, there will be some background music, so don't leave the chat, don't leave the platform. But I think it's important just to zero in and talk about this area of affection.
Yeah.
It might even be something outside of these 3 questions, but all we're doing is to trigger conversation around affection.
Yeah.
So let's just go into it. It will do you a great deal because things are about to change.
Wow.
Otherwise, enjoy. Thanks, my wife. That was really, really awesome.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
awesome.
Thank you so
5
much.
minutes start now.